pen. All right. Welcome back, YouTube. Fourth episode, Impertinent Insights. We're going to jump into the fourth episode of Percy Jackson and the Olympians. We're going to stick to our format from the previous video. We're not going to be recapping the episode at all or the characters involved. We're just going to jump right into the complaining. Ian, you want to start us off?
Thank you. It would be my honor. So, it's a rough start.
Picture this.
Been rough so far. Of course, we're starting off rough. So, we start out with, you just kind of assume a flashback of young Percy. It's swim lessons. Kind of, who cares, whatever. Every little kid needs to take swim lessons. The only problem is, Percy seems terrified to be there. Terrified might be pushing a little bit, but he's definitely scared and he doesn't want to participate. That would be fine if at any point in the show, because again, we are doing this after the season has wrapped. So if that came up at any other point during the show and had some payoff, it would be fine. But seeing as there's no payoff to this, dumb. We then move into little kid Percy on some beach. Because again, they just do a terrible job at just visually showing you where we're supposed to be. So we're on some beach, that cloaked figure with the lantern's back. You know, Percy's just getting talked at. Again, this would be fine if it made sense. We then have present day Percy waking up. So what we just saw, was it a flashback? Was it present day Percy dreaming in his dream he was little Percy? Just poor direction, makes no sense, don't understand it. Leave some comments, enlighten me please, if you know what's going on. Another problem I have with the swimming, Sally knows that he is the son of Poseidon. This kid is in no danger when it comes to water. He cannot drown. If he falls in the water, we have a literal eternity to get someone in there to get him out. On top of that, she drops hints like, this is going to be important later on. You have to learn how to do this. This is not the first time. Sure, this is a vague hint is about his parentage and all that. Go back a couple episodes, you have her just really hammering Greek mythology into him. You may be asking, what's the problem with this? How is this an issue? Of course she's going to teach him about these things. No, if you recall the first minute of the show, Percy says, once you learn what you are, they can sense you and they will come and find you.
Which is book accurate.
Props to them. The tone was wrong. Go watch the video. So at worst, Sally is actively endangering Percy by dropping hints and possibly having him put some things together and learn who he is. And therefore, as stated, monsters are going to come for him. At best, she's stupid. Neither of which are good, just more examples of the show butchering and mischaracterizing the characters, the heart and soul of what drives this. So, moving on just a little bit, Percy wakes up. In the book, Percy's doing some mumbling in his sleep. Real quick, straight from the book, because this is just another wonderful example of them ripping out what should have been included in the show from the source material. So Annabeth asked me, once we'd gotten Grover's sneaker readjusted, who wants your help? What do you mean? When you were asleep just now, you mumbled, I won't help you. Who were you dreaming about? Percy says he was reluctant. It was the second time he had dreamed about this evil voice, but it bothered him so much he finally told her. Annabeth was quiet for a long time. That doesn't sound like Hades. He always appears on a black throne. He never laughs. Percy says he offered my mother in trade. Who else could do that? I guess if he meant help me rise from the underworld, if he wants war with the Olympians. But why ask you to bring him the Master Bolt if he already has it? So right there, just in the book, adding an air of mystery. Again, we are certain that Hades has the bolt. Hades is behind all of this. But now the clues that are being presented to the main characters do not point to Hades. So if it's not Hades, who is it? Who could it be? Could it be that mystery voice that's in Tartarus that the show does such a poor example of conveying? Not it being some disembodied, like all-encompassing evil voice and presence. It's a decrepit old man wearing a cloak in the distance.
Some lantern.
Ooh, scary. Weak. I will give them credit. They do stick to the book here and give Annabeth's backstory with her father and their poor relationship. But yet again, they skip the opportunity to tell us why Sally is with Gabe in the first place. And that is because Gabe is such a disgusting person that he just stinks so bad. He just covers everyone in human, unremarkable scent, which hides Percy, which again is the whole reason that she is with him, in order to keep her son safe.
It's also just the aura is what protects Percy. The aura of human garbage, the worst of humanity, covers up the best of demigod.
Why couldn't you have said that before I went through all that? I like that. The worst of humanity covers up the best of demigod. That's beautiful. But too late. But I mean, I think, again, we can argue that he doesn't literally stink.
I'm sure he does. He seems like he would.
Yeah. Well, they call like Percy, before he learns anything, calls him Smelly Gabe.
That's true.
So I'm sure he does literally stink. But Nathan, what kind of complaints do you have moving forward?
So yeah, after the flashback dream, Tartarus vision, somewhat Chronos, who knows what they're trying to do there. Seems like too many ideas jumbled into one 3-minute clip of wasted screen time. So when they wake up on the train, and as Ian pointed out, they have some good Annabeth backstory. At the same time, though, we have another example here of Percy being a belly-aching child when he's never conveyed that way in the book. He is a strong-willed person who does have an internal dialogue of sometimes a little woe is me, but mostly it's just he's annoyed and looking for a way forward.
It isn't supposed to work that way. People who are close to you aren't supposed to treat you that way.
So they go through some conversation bits. They talk about Grover's sleep and how Annabeth experienced that on the road with him when Grover's first mission with Annabeth occurred. So some good book accurate details are put across in this scene. Is the scene itself book accurate? No. In the book, this train ride lasts maybe a couple paragraphs. It's just talking about them going across the country heading to St. Louis.
Not long at all.
Not long at all.
On top of that, we finally, sorry to interrupt, but we finally get some explanation as to what a searcher is and what Grover is kind of working towards. Nathan, you want to touch on that a little bit? Because
yeah, the searcher bit about Grover is it's his lifelong dream to, and it is a licensed profession with the Council of Cloven Elders. I get that right?
Yep.
Yeah. So they license a satyr to go in search of the god Pan of the natural world, which in the show we get his name, but who is he, right? He is the god of the natural world of the wild. And it's made very clear that the wild is shrinking, mankind is ravaging the earth, all that, and Pan disappeared a long time ago. So satyrs are looking for him, and they never return. So this is a big undertaking to try to become a searcher. The show does a very poor job of conveying how important that is, one, to Grover, and two, just overall. If they want to set up a second season, that's kind of the point of the second book, is Grover's searching.
Yep.
Regardless, they had a decent little scene there. Some good backstory was put out. And then we move into the train car itself, where they're awake out in the passenger section, sitting at a table. Train cop, whatever they're called, comes up and asks them about their destroyed bunk. And this seemingly nice older lady approaches them and talks about witnessing some stuff.
We left the cabin.
Are we under arrest? Are we under arrest?
Ian, you want to get into your favorite monster of monsters?
Oh, I'd love to. I love getting into Echidna. If you've seen the show, you know what I mean. So, she has such a short but big role in the books. Here, she confronts the kids, says, "Oh, I'm a mom, I'm the mother of monsters." And that's when Grover, maybe, I don't care to commit the show to too much memory. But one of the kids is like, "Oh, you're Echidna." Because they did a good job at writing, dropping hints, so it's not like clairvoyance, like they put it together. But in the book, just that Percy humor, Echidna reveals herself and says, I am Echidna, mother of monsters. We get a wonderful line from Percy saying, isn't that a type of anteater? Which could have easily been stuck right here in this scene. Just showing him as a snarky little, just lovable guy. Because, you don't need to show respect to monsters, but unfortunately he doesn't, no one in the show even really shows respect to gods. So there's that. And then the show just nosedives from there. So as Nathan said in the book, trains a couple paragraphs. They have what's essentially a layover in St. Louis before they depart to Denver. In this show, we have an unnecessarily long scene of Echidna just shit talking these kids and then threatening them like, oh, I got a monster here and he's gonna hunt you down. Unnecessarily long scene. Percy gets stabbed. Who cares? The part that really, really bugs me is the train stops. Like, it's in like a train yard, so it's not like they made it. It's not like they're at like a train terminal or anything. Like, inexplicably, like I said, in a train yard, and these kids hop off and start running for their lives because they're being hunted by a monster. This isn't an assumption that they have. They were straight up told, I am training this thing to hunt. You're its prey. Game on. They run about 50 feet off the train and then stand still for a few minutes talking about
being hunted.
They are actively being hunted. They
know
that. The Chimera is nowhere to be seen. You think it would immediately chase them off the train because, again, they're running through the train. Running from this thing, and the train is moving. Next thing we know, train stopped in a train yard. Where did the monster go? Why isn't it continuing to hunt them? And why are they not in a hurry? We had the same problem in episode 1 with the Minotaur. Let's just stand here for several minutes, knowing we're being chased, exposition dump poorly until monster comes. Luckily, while they're standing around doing nothing in the train yard, Echidna and the Chimera don't chase them for whatever reason. Here comes some Annabeth nonsense. We're not complaining about any girl bossing. No, it is just more mischaracterization. Annabeth is a nerd. She loves to learn. She loves architecture. She has dreams of becoming an architect. None of that is mentioned, and it is the sole reason why they head to the Arch in the book in the first place, because she hasn't been out of camp for several years. She's finally out seeing the world. Of course, they're in St. Louis. Why wouldn't you go see one of the greatest feats of architecture that America has to offer? And that's it. She just wants to go see it and geek out over architecture. In the show, it's a temple? It's a safe space?
A sanctuary dedicated to Athena, built by one of her demigod children a long time ago.
There's an Athenian temple hidden somewhere in the middle of downtown St. Louis?
Yes.
What? Also, Percy got stung by like a reptilian that left a like long stinger in him. They just pull it out and keep going. Nobody's like, I wonder what that stinger does. Probably like any other stinger, it probably injects venom. But nope, lo and behold, complete surprise come later on. Nathan, you got some complaints?
Oh, so many.
I'm getting fired up.
Yup. So, right, temple. They had to, as we've mentioned so many times, the show operates on checkpoints. The Arch is a big part of the book. They had to come up with the temple idea to get the kids to go there. They go there for a safe place, and then they get in there and they waste, I don't know how much screen time, but it was a handful of minutes on the museum that is, I guess in real life, it was filmed there. So there's a museum at the Arch that depicts American history and expansion, and Grover is pretty butthurt about probably buffalo and all the things that humans have run out of their habitats and things of that nature. So we spend a good chunk of time on Grover being sad, and them and Annabeth and Percy talking about friendships and the friends we made along the way and all of that kind of sentimental stuff.
Can I cut in real quick? I have some notes about this part.
Please.
So keep in mind, Grover and Annabeth, as was exposition dumped way too soon in the show, have known each other for quite some time. While they are in the museum that is all about westward expansion, and as you know, just the absolute decimation of the bison population.
Bison.
Grover gets visibly upset, as I mean any rational person would, seeing anything like that. And Percy turns to Annabeth and says he doesn't like it when people mess with animals. Who's that for? Everyone knows that. Annabeth already knows it. Percy already knows it. Who are you saying that for? Throw a stupid line. Stupid line, poor writing.
They just covered it on the train at the beginning of the episode that Annabeth has known him for a long time.
Yeah. So who is that line for, Percy? Telling Annabeth, who's known this man for years longer than you have? Unforgivable writing. This writing is unforgivable.
Ridiculous.
I apologize for interrupting, Nathan. I just couldn't let that one slide. Continue, please.
Good point. Oh, or well, bad point, but good mention. Jeez. So yeah, they have their butthurt heart-to-heart combo moment, and again, I believe they mention that they're in a safe place. Percy collapses around this moment. He is just now experiencing, after however long it took them to skedaddle through the city at a very non-urgent pace, being hunted and all, Percy is just now feeling the effects of some kind of poison, venom. They get the idea to heal Percy with water because they've shown it. He's healed by water. He's safest in water. Again, why swimming lessons? But they take him outside to a fountain, splashing water on him. This will be the first time we mention this, but not the last. Percy does not get wet unless he chooses to. It's just a natural thing. He's a son of the sea god. Water's his thing. All about it. But they're splashing water on him. He's getting wet. He's not healing. Annabeth makes the astute observation that it probably needs to be natural flowing water for Percy's powers to work, or as she says verbatim, for his father, for Poseidon to heal him. And that seems to be the theme here, is Poseidon intervenes a lot more than Percy's powers do their own. But Percy's not healing, and they suddenly get an outside threat of Echidna. There's some crashes across the way, and Echidna shows up. Obviously, the Chimera's hunting them. And we get just I'll make sure I get that clip. We just get the slightest flash of the Chimera maybe wrecking cars on the road, or maybe it's Echidna doing her little flippy hand crap. More force powers thrown into the show. Two things here are just strange and weird. I get that the checkpoint of the show is they go to the top of the arch. And the writers are just like, well, we've already thrown in this weirdness. How do we get creative here? So Annabeth says we gotta hoof it to the top of the arch, that there's an altar up there, which there's not. We get there. There's not. There's an altar up there. We'll be safe. That'll be the safest point.
The temple's altar.
Altar? Where is there an altar?
The highest point, the best view.
Okay, but what good is that even gonna do us?
We're gonna get to the altar, and I'm going to ask my mom for help.
Rather than, they're in an open area, they could run any direction. There's a river one direction, and they mention why they can't take Percy to the river, which was one of our original complaints that after a rewatch we realized just in utter disgust we overlooked. But they do cover that point.
Props to them, the point was covered. So, good job, guys. You did one thing right so far in this episode.
Yeah, in your rewrite, in a terrible rewrite, you managed to cover your ass on one bit. But yeah, rather than run any other direction, they have to go into the arch. And right before this, Echidna is doing some kind of hissy mental telepathy thing game with Annabeth, and you don't hear what it is until we get all the way into the arch. They're in the elevator about to go up the arch in an enclosed, two ways out, one of them's blocked, space. And she says Athena's mad because they previously sent the head of Medusa to Olympus. So Athena in this depiction of Athena is in some psychopathic way mad at her daughter to the point of allowing a monster, a very dangerous one, not even, I mean, I would argue a Fury is probably a little more manageable than a giant lion multi-animal thing.
So the Chimera is referred to as the demigod killer.
Ah, yeah.
I don't believe for a second that a god would allow their child to be massacred by any monster, let alone one of such renown. But take her away.
Thank you. So dumb. The telepathic message was, Athena's mad at you, I can get in there. You're not safe in there. But Annabeth leads them all in there anyway.
Plenty of time to mention it before getting stuck in the elevator, but she waits until they're in the elevator and is like, by the way, this won't work, and she can get to us up there. Say something sooner. You've known for... We were outside when you found this out.
So yeah, they go up to the very tight space, and of course, Echidna and the Chimera follow.
Naturally.
And then in the book, they're on their way out of there because Chimera has appeared. First time seeing it in the book. They're on their way out of there. Grover and Annabeth get into, I believe, the other side elevator and go down. Percy can't get there in time, or it's too crowded. I believe it's too crowded.
Yeah, there was too many people in there, no room for him, so he just hangs back. Chimera appears. Chaos ensues. A fun, exciting moment in the book. It's kind of given away, no build up in the show. Like, yeah, no, obviously that she's gonna be in the top of the arch with you guys. Duh.
The fight itself is choreographed how I would somewhat imagine it happened in the book, except for they're missing a giant collar because Percy, in his decent reflexes, tries to go for the neck, but is covered by a collar. Sword bounces off. There's the book accurate-ish part is that there's a hole in the arch at the end of this fight, because in the book, the Chimera breathes fire, as you see in the show. But again, they're committing screen time to stuff and then rewriting it for no reason. The Chimera breathes fire, Percy dodges, and then Echidna does this force move where, I'm going that way. This unintuitive motion, she goes like this, and then the floor drops out, is forced open. And it's a way for her to like block Percy from running away and let the Chimera kill him. But in the book, the Chimera like melts the side because the fire is so intense. Then Percy loses his sword, clanging off the collar of the beast. But yeah, Echidna's a Jedi or a Sith, depending on how you see it.
Much like Percy is shown in episode 1.
Oh,
Okay.
So we have tried to justify this a bunch of ways, but Percy ends up falling. In the book, he jumps intentionally. In the book, it's because there's innocent people are there. He's poisoned. He lost his sword. He's burned a little bit. He's like, there's one thing I can do, and that's try to lead them away. And the one place he can go is out the arch.
Yep.
Now, to the credit of the show, this did kind of need a rewrite, because as we've looked into it, the arch is not close to the river. So jumping out of it, not even for a demigod, probably not too
likely. The math does not check out.
The arch is about as tall as it is far away from the river. Pretty hard to make that happen, but at least it's arguable that, this is a different world. It's a story about demigods. Get over it. However, in the show, there's no hole in the side. The hole's in the floor. Percy's hanging on by a thread and then just falls straight down into, the camera shows it, pavement and grass beneath.
More credit to the show. Sick camera shot.
Super cool shot. Falling down.
Really cool.
Almost exactly how it's described in the book. Skyscrapers and such are disappearing in the whirl of tumbling through the air.
Very cool.
In the book, he just lands in the water. However he does it, he just lands in the water. In the show, we get to see another depiction of Percy. If they just shown him reaching out his arm, we could have called it like he controlled the river to come help him. But no, it looks like his father sent this big old torrent of water up, grabs him midair, and then cuts the scene, and he's just into the water.
For a little more context as to how ridiculous this crazy water tornado that comes and sucks him up is, it grabs him probably halfway down the 600-foot fall. So it is a 300-foot tall torrent of water that reaches probably somewhere between 500 and 600 feet inland to grab him. Now,
from the middle of the river too, so probably a couple extra,
Yeah, so 600 plus feet inland, just this, like, it would have probably noticeably dropped the level of the water.
Yep, of all the places to just cut to black and have him land in the water, no one would have questioned it. Anyone that's not from St. Louis would have been like, okay. Just don't show the downward angle and he ends up in the water. Yep. Fine.
Done.
You want to get into you want to bang out that river part? For one, he's wet. Again.
For one, he's wet. Now, I did in the comments, if you want to argue this part, if you want to defend the show and argue, let's do it.
Please.
At the beginning of this video, I said Percy being scared of water never comes back up. I can see where if you want to be one of those crazies that is overly defending the show, I could see how you would think after he's in the water, he starts to panic. He's not panicking because he's afraid of the water. He's panicking because his foot is caught and he is now trapped underwater. At this point, he doesn't know he can breathe water. So obviously he's thinking he's going to drown. So he's just trying to scramble his way up back to the surface. He's not afraid of the water. He's afraid of being stuck in it and drowning.
Normal person
behavior. In the book, we get this cool scene of he doesn't get stuck in the water. He kind of sinks into the mud. Lots of inner dialogue. Now here, you could easily just have him talk to himself to cover up the inner dialogue. But he is thinking to himself in the book and then very quickly realizes like, oh, I can breathe. Sick. Non-issue anymore. He then grabs a lighter and some trash and sets it on fire underwater. Sick!
Because everything he touches becomes non-affected by water. Even though it was waterlogged, he touches it, nothing is wet. Nothing. He's never wet.
Water's gone. So, again, you could easily have put that inner dialogue with Percy sinking, going, oh no, I'm gonna drown. Never mind, I can breathe. Perfect. And then that water spirit or whatever the hell she is comes in. And it's, oh, your father's here. Buh, 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 buh. Like, again, I'm not committing too much of this show to memory. I don't remember how much, because up until now, we're averaging about 60 some odd pages per episode covered from the book. This episode covers one chapter and not even 3 pages from the next. Totaling, I think it's 18 pages. Again, if you've seen any complaints online, major complaint is show, don't tell. This dumb show and these awful hack writers, Reardon, I'm blaming you.
And his wife.
They have a tendency to tell you and not show you. And when a scene from the book could have easily been written as show, don't tell, they switch it to tell, don't show. And the nonsense that they add in that would have been better as being tell, not show, they show, not tell. Are you following me? Look, if it's confusing, it's because the show sucks. They are messing with what doesn't need messed with. They're adding in nonsense, and they're executing both poorly. I got no experience in writing. I got no experience in screenwriting, but you would think that the man that created the series who is executive producing for some reason, along with his wife, just better input and not allow this nonsense to happen.
Right. We got 70% of these complaints on the first watch. So experts, experience, doesn't matter. These complaints were called out early, and then upon rewatch, reread, complaining to each other, and then making this channel, we came up with a handful more.
So many more.
But yeah, this was not hard to suss out that this is just a terrible piece of work.
Yep, poorly written show. Like, it, upon first watch, you just find all the discrepancies between the book. Generally, okay, you know, don't hate too much at what they did, but like, why are they doing this? Upon watching it a second or third time, you just awful, glaring, bad writing mistakes. I said it before, I'm saying it again. Even if you just completely separate this show from the source material, it does not stand on its own. There's no world building, there's no foundation being built. We are hitting a checklist, and when it's time for them to move on to a different spot, they make something happen. There's no stakes, there's no weight. We are 4 episodes in. If you want to really see us lose our minds, look forward to episode 5 and 6 review, because that's where shit really gets off the rails.
For the finale, God, that's gonna be an hour. I'm already planning for that being an hour long. Bitch fit.
I like that. Plan on maybe even a 2-parter. Plan on maybe even a 2-parter for the finale, so we don't make you sit through a whole hour long. But those are our thoughts. Those are our complaints. Those are our impertinent insights on episode 4. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. Leave us a comment. Let me know if there's anything that you think I got wrong. If there's anything that you think could be better explained. If you like the show, give me some good reasons as to why it's a good show, because I don't see it. And personally, in my life, of the people that have watched the show, they don't see it either.
I'll say it again. The movies went their own way with it, but they stand up on their own because they kind of just made it a buddy road trip movie.
Yeah.
And
at least the movies were fun.
But this is trying in the weirdest ways to follow the book, and just 18 pages for one episode. We needed that screen time in the beginning, and they're dedicating ridiculous amounts of effort to these small action sequences.
Yep. As the show progresses, there is so much unnecessary screen time given to unnecessary things that would have been better spent episode 1, episode 2, fleshing out the world. But instead, we've got to go with nonsensical, poorly executed rewrites. So much left out.
I think we've hit our points on this one. Anything anything missed? Any last final takes?
Final takes. The show is bad.
That about sums it up.
Yep.
Look forward to the next one.